What's up, Prowl Radio? This is a Talk to Me segment. I'm here right now with Julie's Bones, all the way from West Michigan. Let's get right into it. Why don't you guys start by introducing yourselves, kind of introduce your band. What do you guys do in the band, first off?
I'm Colin Overway. I generally play guitar, sometimes bass. I'm one of the main singers, and we all do songwriting too.
Hi, I'm Violet, and I play drums.
I'm Andy, and I'm mainly a bassist, but I'm also a primary singer and songwriter as well.
Before we get into like what is going on right now with Julie's Bones, how did each of you get into like music in general? What's your background with music?
Well, it all started. We actually all played jazz band together back in high school for a handful of years, but I'd say just learning through that kind of got me into some stuff. I really like indie rock, and that was probably what nurtured wanting to actually do music in the long run. I like a lot of different stuff, but
Awesome.
My dad was a drummer and was always super encouraging. But especially, once I got to high school and was doing jazz band with these guys, I got really into exploring music and doing a lot of drums, and yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Perfect.
Started because I come from a musical family and everyone played every other instrument. So I was like, I gotta have my own voice. So I picked bass. And I got a bass for my 14th birthday, didn't touch it for 6 months. And then for some reason I picked up, I think it was an Imagine Dragons song actually. I picked it up
of
and
all songs,
it's Gold by Imagine Dragons.
oh my god,
I remember that song. That's crazy.
It's real simple, it's real good. But and then I grew up on Tom Waits, so I've always been really big into like storytelling through lyrics because of all of the stuff that he did. I was the only like fourth grader who would ask for Tom Waits in the car because he's it's not a pleasant listen sometimes, but getting to play jazz with these folks was really important for how I view other musicians and creating like a good chemistry between the three of us.
That's interesting that you are from like jazz band, because there's so many other bands that I know of, even like bands here in Milwaukee that have roots in jazz bands. It seems like a lot of good bands come from jazz. But you mentioned your songwriting, and I have a couple questions about your songwriting. Your music is very lyrically driven. How important would you say lyrics are to the sound of Julie's Bones?
Incredibly important
I'd say we fret over the lyrics probably more
than anything else,
Yeah.
besides from maybe the song structure.
we've had long discussions over changing like one word to like something
Mhm.
else, or like trying to find specifically what fits. But
And I recently got an opportunity to help write a song with Colin, and right now Colin is helping me write a song as well. And Violet and I are working on riffs, and it's really interesting to be able to start. Like we've all separately songwrite, and then
Mhm.
we brought it together because we had a period where he was living in Grand Haven. He still does.
Yeah.
That's about 30 minutes north of where we all meet. And then Violet lived in Chicago.
Yeah, which is a good 3-hour drive
No kidding.
from these guys and from you, I guess.
Mhm.
So yeah, it was really tricky to coordinate for a little while, but now that we're all together, it used to be almost always whoever wrote the lyrics is also playing the guitar, and then whoever isn't is playing bass and I'm playing drums. But even with the most recent album, I wrote Aphrodite, which very specifically started with the lyrics, as I think most of our songs do. Most of my songs do, at least. Yeah, lyrics are very important for us.
And would you say that most of your songs are like storytelling songs?
I think what I've observed is a lot of the songs that Andy forefronts tend to have more of a storytelling kind of role.
Mhm.
I'd say with mine, they can sometimes be like more self-reflective.
Yeah, yours can be self-reflective and more pastoral, like
Right.
like scene describing and stuff like that.
I think a lot of Andy's songs have like a very clear like beginning and end. We're starting the intro at the beginning of the story, and we're ending with this big climax. But I think a lot of Colin's songs take this like snapshot of a moment and can really describe each detail of that emotion very clearly.
You know, And honestly, my favorite lyrics on this, we have our new project that just came out, Dirty Looks, the Violet song Aphrodite. I I remember like we were like kind of going through the song. It was mostly written out in this like perfect formula. And I looked back at the lyrics, and they're some of the most beautiful lyrics I think I've read ever. And it's kind of hard to pinpoint what style you kind of write it yet, but
We're
yeah.
gonna find out.
We don't have a big pool to draw from. It'll
it's
get
good
bigger.
whatever it is.
It'll get much bigger.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys have a big pool to draw from, and you each bring something different to the table, which is amazing to see in a new band. You guys have kind of mentioned musical inspirations already in this interview, but is there anything else that you would like to say you draw from when you are writing music?
A lot of where like what I draw from when I'm writing music is I listen to a lot more than I probably should. It's like brain rot from all the songs just playing. My Spotify rap was horrible, but but I like to take bits and pieces from a lot of things and just kind of aimlessly throw it all together. There's a lot of guitar sounds I like from bands like Idols, or King Gizzard. I like a lot of the guitar noises that they all get.
I'm a prog metal, prog rock kind of person, and a lot of my drumming stems from that classic prog rock sound. You know, Rush, Yes, and then how those influenced like '90s grunge bands. Then that comes into my playing. You know, Dave Grohl's big drums, Soundgarden's drums, Nirvana's drums, and then even how like Weezer comes into that and plays off of that, and MCR comes into that and plays off of that, and then you know I'm playing off a lot of that, as well as some of the more modern prog metal bands like Periphery, like Thank You Scientists, like Caligula's Horse. Those are I think my top 3 on Spotify this year. So yeah, lots of modern, lots of '90s, even some older late 60s, early 70s kind of influences.
1920s.
No, not 1920s. That's ridiculous.
I actually fall into ruts where I listen to one band continuously for a few months to a year. It all depends on like emotional weight that I've tied to that band. So I would say that my lexicon is not as developed as the other members of our band, unfortunately. But I have found some very, very fun bands that I take guitar inspiration from, songwriting inspiration from, and bass inspiration from. For guitar, I always look at Deftones at this point in time. They use a lot of ninth chords, which I just absolutely love playing because as a bassist, I'm only comfortable on the 4 thickest strings on a guitar. When it comes to the B string and the E string, I'm just BSing to be completely honest with you.
BSing in style.
But BSing. And I've always wanted to add sort of a thundery low end, and I've been like throughout the catalog you could hear there I'm testing a bunch of different bass tones and different bass sounds. Almost every song in both our EP and our album has a different bass tone because I'm still trying to find that perfect that like je ne sais quoi. I don't know if I'm using that word correctly, but that came from Tool specifically.
Okay.
I like how the bass cuts through the mix, and my bass writing, when it comes to specifically breakdowns, is pulled heavily from Mick Gordon, who produced the soundtrack for both of the newest Doom games. So we got a little bit of cross between like music industry and then the gaming industry.
And you know,
It's fun.
it's funny when you mention like the bass tones kind of changing song to song. It'd probably be worth mentioning that on both the last project and this one, our recording process was 6 hours for a song,
Or so.
or so. And we do that, like we do 2 sessions of 6 hours, maybe like once every couple months. So our taste would change like from session to session, like drastically. I feel like when we kind of try out some new stuff here and there. A lot of spur of the moment stuff, I'd say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Joel, our producer at Planet Sunday, really helps guide that all those new inspirations into tones that he knows he can achieve and can work with. So it's really great.
Well, it's funny you bring that up because one of my questions is specifically about your production. And when I was talking about you guys to some of the people I know that are big like music heads and are in like have their own bands and make their own music, they were listening to you guys, and they were like, the production on this is really good. So I want to ask you guys what kind of goes into your production process, because for a small band, it's very impressive.
Well, thank you.
We appreciate that a lot. I mean, I'm sure Joel will appreciate it when we tell him.
I'd say what kind of goes into like a production, we'll come into it like having at least gone through like the song a couple times. We show him, we usually play all together at once, and like laying down kind of a backing track with the hopes of getting it like time wise tight enough that we can like kind of perfect the drums on it. And then we each record our next tracks. Sometimes Joel will like come up with an idea like, well, why don't you try this like with the mids like a little lower, or why don't we try like a less dirty tone for this? But I'd say we all equally come up with like suggestions that we kind of point at and prod at each other with in the studio as well.
Yeah, so the bass line for every song, at least on the Dirty Looks album, is drums are laid down first, then bass, which is just a DI bass, and it sounds great always. And all of those songs also have 2 guitar tracks that are laid down by whoever's doing guitar, and then we'll throw on whatever lead guitar, anything like that. Sometimes we have keys ideas. I know Burned Eyes specifically has an upright piano track throughout that whole song that I wrote and performed. And then we'll lay down lyrics on top of that. Add any finishing touches we need to, happenstance, we wanted a shaker, that sort of thing. And then, once that's that, we've wrapped it up. Since our production sessions tend to be so far apart, we have a month to sit on the song and be able to come back and change up anything we need to if we've decided in that month time that it's not sounding quite right or whatever.
And we get very picky sometimes.
Very
So
picky.
we use Dropbox for all of the file sharing that we do in between the band, and we usually have 2 to 3 copies of each song with slight changes before we get the actual finished product. So at the end of it, we'll have 4. We'll have the actual WAV file and all the other MP3s that we've been just dogging on.
Yeah. So yeah, we can get particular about it. We can get sad about it, sometimes.
I can get angry about it. It's all part of the creative
We're a
process.
family.
That's very interesting to hear about, and I know a lot of people will be interested to hear that. But shifting gears just a little bit, and we've kind of been skirting around Dirty Looks throughout this interview, but let's talk about Dirty Looks. On December 1st, first album released. What is it like seeing your first album go from conception to arrival?
It's surreal.
Incredibly.
The weird thing is because we've been recording this the whole year.
About a year, yeah.
The whole year essentially. I think we took maybe a month off after recording the EP before we laid down the first track, which was Blood Rot for it. And for I know me and Andy would constantly listen to the songs, kind of like both for our own enjoyment. I mean, like we record music.
That's me.
And but what was the question again?
Just like at the end of the day, now that this album is out, how does it feel to have this first album out?
Very triumphant. I feel like a real band now, I think.
Yeah.
And like we knew that this was gonna be like maybe a step up in production. And I think it just renews that kind of feeling of let's get back in the studio, make some more stuff, and see if we can go somewhere else.
We were at least the 2 of us, Colin and I, were in a writing rut before the album came out, and as soon as it came out, seeing like the reaction, like seeing that people take time out of their day to listen to our music made us want to write more and made us want to blossom, I guess.
Yeah.
It's really motivating actually to have a full album out.
Very affirming.
And I think before we had the album out, you know, even with just the EP and the live shows that we were doing, I think Julie's Bones still felt like this kind of fragile new concept that could kind of shatter at any point if something went wrong. But with this album out, it feels like this very nice foundation that we have for Julie's Bones that we can build off of, and it feels like that's much more solid and real than anything we had before the first of this month.
Yeah.
What would you want people to walk away with when they're done listening to Dirty Looks? If they could have one takeaway from this album.
I think honestly, I think the message of Dirty Looks is pretty clear. Every single song, you know, well written from a different place, has a solid theme of like emotional maturity and not ignoring the people around you. I think is the big thing, because the title itself, Dirty Looks, is, you know, this feeling that we've all had of being stared at, and even though, you know, you're being looked at, it kind of feels like you're being ignored, like these people are looking at you because they don't get it.
You're being paradoxically ignored and judged at the same time.
Yeah, so the idea of being able to look at someone and know who they are, and be okay with that is kind of heard in every song, I think.
Mm-hmm. And I know, like, at least for like from my end, a lot of these had to do with whether it be like criticisms of one's roles in like a relationship, or one's roles with like friends or institutions. It's just like, you know, criticisms and like a lot of reflection. And I'd say there's like a kind of dissociating outlook that kind of comes out of this sometimes.
Mhm.
And it's just like a lot of these songs were like a me kind of purging some emotional baggage that needed to get out. And
Same here. Same
I think
here.
it all kind of ties in with, you know, that.
That's what Colossus is for me. That's what.
Yeah.
And I tell a more impersonal story. Mine are more specific. Like it's an album. It's collect for us. It's more like it has the overall theme of grabbing different points of like, hey, that was emotionally mature of me. Hey, I could have acted differently in this situation. Hey, so on and so forth. But sort of parting ways, I wrote the lyrics to Bad Brood about a real guy. If your viewers are interested, Rainbow Man is what he is colloquially referred to as. And is it okay if I divulge into this?
Go ahead. Yeah.
It's so different than anything else because it's not like self-reflective or anything than that. So I feel like it does kind of stick out like a Thor song. Thor song. We love spoonerisms. But it's about a guy who was taken advantage of by the evangelical church. He was mentally ill, but that's pertinent to the story later, but it sounds weird that I brought it up then. But he would go to a bunch of basketball games with a rainbow wig on and hold up the sign John 3:16. And if anyone went to like Sunday school, for God so loved the world, he gave his one and only son, so that something eternal life. And so a bunch of evangelicals caught on to, they're like, hey, this dude is just kind of showing up here. He stands out in the crowd. Let's get him in front of a camera at an NBA game or an NFL game, so on and so forth. So he became like a micro celebrity. And it turns out he believed that John 3:16 was heralding the end of the world. And unknowingly, the evangelical people around him were fueling his paranoia by sending him to places, and he knew that, oh my goodness, if they're sending me to these places, that must mean everyone knows the world is going to end, because that's what he thought he was telling everybody by holding that sign. And it ended in him kidnapping a few people and shooting at he was in a motel and he was shooting at a nearby airstrip to keep the planes on the ground because he believed that the world would end if the planes took off.
Hey.
So that's the impersonal story in the album. Everything else in this album is incredibly personal.
Well, wow, that's very interesting. Not something I would have picked up. So I'm glad I got to talk to you guys today. Well, moving into the next part of our little interview, this is something I meant to ask at the beginning, but what does Julie Bones mean? Where does this name come from?
we
I love this question
so
so much.
I think me and Andy sometimes don't. I don't know. I might have false memories of it.
Okay, we should start with I wasn't even there.
Nope.
I just got to tell where Julie's bones found. I was like, that's great, guys.
Well, I guess we should mention our first name.
Oh God.
So our first name was Jacket. And like, people would kind of have some like interesting looks on their face when they'd say our name. So we felt the need to change it. I think I had the idea of Bones.
No,
I
that
think-
was me. I was listening to Tom Waits.
Let me say
specifically
my
Bones.
version, and it might be true, it might not, but this is how I remember it. I remember saying like Bones because I was listening to a song called or by a fake band called Billy Bones,
Oh,
and I was like, Bones, yeah, that's something, and then I thought of some stupid thing like Janice's Bones,
yeah.
and then you said Julie's Bones.
There is no Julie.
There is no Julie.
There is no Julie. There are no Bones.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say there's probably no Julie anymore if it's just her bones.
Exactly. I have an aunt named Julie who thinks I named it after her. You did that on purpose.
That's a little uncomfortable. Yeah, I'm talking about you being dead in the future.
But yeah, there's not too much of a reason. We just kind of liked the name.
Yeah.
We assume Violet likes the name too.
We assumed because there was no pushback.
Yeah. No, it's a good name. I like it, but
I appreciate that.
it has no meaning.
So this is a very serious question, and I want you guys to put all of your brain cells towards this. But if Julie Bones was to have a meal at a restaurant, which restaurant would it be? What would the meal consist of? And what would the name be?
Oh
I
shit.
think we'd all just eat like piles of like beef that are mostly cooked. It's kind of smeared in some ketchup. I feel like
Where do we have that one? We always have like mushrooms and green peppers when we're
we
together.
do have a lot of mushrooms and green peppers. And like pasta. Yeah, we like pasta.
Yeah.
So I think the name of the restaurant would be Bones Appetit or something like that.
I was thinking Slavianos or something like
Slavianos. I like Slavianos. We're having
Slavianos.
some green pepper at Slavianos.
that. Only a green pepper.
I think
Oh.
mushroom Alfredo at Slavianos is
Okay. That's where you can find the bones.
Yeah.
bone broth. Yeah, maybe.
Oh Lord.
I think I might need some convincing to eat at Slavianos, but I could. You might see me around there. You never know. So here in Milwaukee, we're very proud of our music scene. We're always curious, like, what else is going on in the world in terms of local music. So how would you describe the local music scene of your area? Is it popping off? Do you feel like you guys are like one in a sea of many, or just on your own?
Well, so we got our start at Park Theater, which is a historical nonprofit theater in downtown Holland. And we've all been going there since I was like 15, 16,
Yep.
doing their open mic. And
We did Royal Blood covers.
we started with
Yeah.
covers, Royal Blood, Highly Suspect, some other great influences of us.
And then COVID happened.
And then COVID happened. And Julie's Bones really was this concept of just something we could do at Park Theater's open mic night as soon as they opened up after they were able to with COVID restrictions.
And when it opened back up too, it would like, because before COVID it was pretty dead. There was maybe like a couple people every night. Usually a couple guys would like play multiple sets, but after they got Jer, who's in a band called Brother Adams,
And also featured on Trip Sitter Blues on Dirty
Yep.
Looks.
plays the harmonica solo.
It's pretty good.
He started hosting these, and even now, ever since those couple years ago, you get hundreds of people. But as far as Holland, Michigan goes, I'd say that's like the epicenter of like the music
Yeah.
scene.
It's slowly growing. It has a potential to become a budding music scene. And it well, it's already starting to pop off, but we need a little more infrastructure going. We need more outside bands to know of Park Theater.
Yeah.
But we also recently had Eric Gales come through, which was really cool. It was a cool. We had Yngwie Malmsteen at the park, which was okay. Um,
Yeah, I'd say that as far as other artists go and like what you can generally expect in West Michigan, you got a lot of folk influence.
Yeah,
You got a
that's
lot
true.
of people who kind of delve into that.
folk and bluegrass. Michigan, like Michigan culturally is a folk and bluegrass state.
I'd say Brother Adams kind of dabbles into that. It's like a nice like kind of I'd say you get a lot of psychedelic influence in a
Psych
lot of
folk.
bands.
Yeah.
Go to Grand Rapids, you'll get more of a pop punk kind of scene going on.
Mhm.
We played a few shows with bands out there like the Burdens,
Lithiums.
Lithiums.
But our most recent show was actually at the Park Theater, and we were able to fill the bill with 4 rock bands, including us. So and it was a very, very well received show and a lot of fun.
Those bands were Ghostlick. They have a project. Lefty also has one. Great indie rock kind of bands. And then a new band, Lie, actually was also born out of Park Theater. Only been a band for a few months, but they closed the whole set and they're
Yeah.
great.
They're
Looking forward
recording.
to
They're
that.
they don't have anything out yet, I don't believe, but they're recording an album.
Yes.
So we'll probably we'll keep in touch. Bro.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Keep in touch.
great groups.
Well, thanks so much for letting us in on your scene. What does the future of Julie's Bones look like? What do you guys have in the works? If you can share. If it's a little hush-hush, that's fine, but...
We were just jamming on something a second ago.
Yeah.
We definitely have like probably an album's worth of songs ready to
As of right now,
like kind of refine.
but we're adding a new member to our band. Actually, his name's
Oh,
Duncan.
really? Well, tell us about that.
He's going to be another at the end of the day, all of us for the next project and for all projects going forward are going to be primary songwriters. So that's just gonna be like the bass line, but he's gonna be rhythm guitar and another songwriter and singer as well.
He also played jazz band with us.
Yeah, he was the pianist.
But yeah, we played one show with him so far for like a private party, and then he's at this next show we got coming up
On the 29th.
the 29th in Saugatuck at the American Legion Hall.
Yeah.
But yeah, his role is gonna be guitarist. For as far as the future goes, we do have
An
As-
EP in the works.
we have
actually.
aspirations to get in the studio in February. 4-song project where we each contribute a song and kind of flesh it out. And just after that, I think we do want to go into a full album, but
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
a little too early to see how it might look. But
Yeah, we're gonna take a bit of a break in January just to.
be alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in the middle of performing season right now, and I'm dead.
We'll probably use Dirty Looks' sound kind of as a jump off point,
Mhm.
and maybe just get a little more detailed and kind of try things a little differently, see what we can come up with.
Yeah.
But
And
more
once-
shows.
And once we have Duncan introduced with that EP and the shows we'll be doing soon, then we'll have a lot of room to make a lot of great new music.
Well, that's all the questions I have. Is there anything, as we wrap up this interview, that you would like to shout out? You know, where can people find you on social media, on streaming platforms in the local area? You know, you kind of talked about where you frequent, but just anything you would like the people to know.
I would like to thank Sam Moyle for helping set this interview up. Appreciate it, bro.
What's our Instagram at Julie's Bones Official? No, it's not.
Oh my God, we'll flash it up there somewhere.
Julie's_Bones.
You can find us on all the platforms like Spotify, Apple, and the lesser ones. I mean, if you use them, you're cool, but you can find us there. We play Park Theater quite often.
Yep.
Open mics there are where you can occasionally catch us. I think we're thinking about debuting some songs we're working on at some point there.
Yep.
We just kind of play the local area, Grand Rapids sometimes, Saugatuck, Holland.
Yeah. And of course, it's always worth shouting out Tegan Wade, who does every single one of our art pieces so far.
Okay.
And is our manager and carries
Friend.
us around and
Yeah.
carries us around in the Lisa Frank backpack.
Tegan's
And his
a
little-
big reason we've
yes.
gotten as far as we have.
No.
But yeah,
thank you so much for joining us here on Prowl Radio. Thank you for watching. Go check out Julie's boat. See you next time or something. I don't know.